I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm Jack Frost, sitting in for Chairperson Mike McGowan, who could not be in attendance today. And I'd like to welcome you all this morning, Thursday, September 1st, to the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors Committee meetings. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building, located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. I would like to announce that due to the continued uptick in COVID cases, the district will be returning to a stricter level of COVID precautions. The number of attendees at today's meeting will be limited to the extent possible. Unvaccinated people are required to wear masks, and all attendees are encouraged to abide by the 6-foot social distancing rule. In the interest of protecting the health and safety of any members of the public who wish to address the board, they may do so from an adjacent conference room. Thank you for your cooperation in this regard. Safety briefing. I'd like to invite our Vice President of Safety, Security, and Business Continuity, Shane Hunter, to provide a briefing regarding the protocol for those individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency.
Good morning, Shane Hunter, Vice President of Safety, Security, and Business Continuity. Aside from the normal entry and exit routes at the rear of the room, which we came in this morning, an emergency exit is provided here on this side of the room. In the hallway outside that door, we'll find the nearest fire extinguisher, first aid kit, and AED. With the location of that AED in mind, should there be a medical emergency, 911 will be contacted by the security out front, and they'll be escorted in here to provide service. Our severe weather shelter is also located in this same hallway, should there be a need. And if we need to evacuate for any reason, we'll go through that same door, take 2 lefts, and reconvene in the parking garage for accountability. That concludes the briefing.
Roll call.
Friend?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Howard?
Here.
Kavanaugh?
Here.
Bagley?
Here.
Cook?
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available in the back of the boardroom, and a copy is also available in the nearby conference room set aside for members of the public who may attend. Construction and operations. Mr. O'Brien will review the proposed capital expenditures.
Good morning. Corey O'Brien, Vice President of Engineering and Construction. Behind tab 5 this morning is our capital expenditures letter. It is a little bit longer letter, and I do have a number of items that I want to touch on, but I'll try to be brief yet informative. You can see from the map that we do have 4 projects under our system improvements category, and they are sprinkled amongst 3 of our subdivisions. If you'll turn to page 2 of the letter, I will start with item number 3 under system improvements. This is a request for approximately $340,000 to hire a professional consulting firm to do design services for water transmission mains. This is a large project that will serve Lot 2 of the Gemini development down the Highway 50 corridor. This project involves approximately 3.5 miles of transmission mains, ranging in size from 16-inch to 36-inch. Now, we do regularly hire consulting firms to help us with our designing of our transmission mains, so that part's not unusual. We have 2 firms that we work with on a regular basis, HGM Associates and Olson. Given the size of this project, we did approach both firms and ask for proposals from them so we could evaluate those proposals. Following that evaluation, we are recommending the hiring of Olson to do this work. And so approval of this capital expenditure will also authorize the president to enter into an agreement with Olson for these professional services. The next item I'd like to speak to is item 4 on page 2. This is a $182,000 request approximately for condition assessment of another piece of water main. This piece of main is about 1,700 feet long, and it's in Dodge Street from 84th to the east. Jay, if you could bring up that next slide, the PICA slide. We are recommending using the Sea Snake tool that I spoke to you about a few months ago. This piece of main lies under a street that the city plans to do a street project on in 2022, and we want to know more about the condition of that main before we make our decisions. The main that's under that street right now was installed in 1959, and again, this is a piece of 12-inch cast iron main. It was installed in 1959, and it has performed flawlessly since then. We have no breaks on this piece of main. However, before we leave it under a brand new street, we want to confidently know as much as we can about that pipe. So if you recall, we've used the Sea Snake before. This is the tool that is pushed through the inside of the main with water, and it gives us a very detailed picture of the condition of the pipe wall. And there's kind of a sketch of it up there, and you can see the main. This piece of main runs from 84th to the east to where it connects back into West Dodge Road. It is in between Children's Hospital on the north and Methodist Hospital on the south, so it's a critical main for us, and the failures on that street could be impactful. So we want to know as much as we can. You'll notice that this capital expenditure request is labeled a ratification. We have not used the tool yet or had the vendor in. That will happen later in September. The reason it's a ratification is these projects take considerable planning and communication, and we have started that process already. So we chose to call it a ratification, but the Sea Snake product won't be used until later in the month, that vendor. So what I do want to do at this point, though, is remind you a little bit about the first time we used the Sea Snake. That was on a main that was in 102nd and I Street. And that was about 3,100 feet of 12-inch ductile iron pipe, bare pipe. It wasn't wrapped. And we wanted to know, that was the first time we used it, so it was our true pilot for the tool. I can tell you a little bit about what we learned from that project. So 3,100 feet, based on the information we got back from PICA, we plan to replace 260 feet of that pipe in 9 different sections. So more spot-like repairs or replacements. We also are going to put in 7 repair clamps, and we're going to install anodes in select locations. So the bottom line on that project is that we are going to confidently recommend that we leave 92% of the pipe as it is, instead of a full replacement like we might have done 10 years ago. So the tool helped us to make better decisions, and we want to continue to gain that experience with this tool and this technology, so that's why we're asking for approval of this CNA. Are there any questions about that before I move on? Okay, if you'll turn to page 3 under Building Plants and Equipment, item number 2. This is a recommendation for $220,000 to purchase a piece of equipment. This is a large rubber tire loader. I call this to your attention primarily because typically when we come to you for requests for equipment or vehicles, it's to buy new equipment or new vehicles. This is a used piece of equipment. It will easily serve our needs for many years, but it is replacing a piece of equipment that has failed. And so we are down one machine, and there are still supply chain issues affecting things like these large rubber tire loaders. So finding one that is used gets us a replacement piece of equipment sooner, and it will integrate well with our fleet. This is a 2020 model year piece of equipment with 400 hours of use. We do get the remainder of the factory warranty. We do get an extended warranty for 60 months or 5,000 additional hours. So we feel good about the purchase, but I just call it to your attention that we don't always buy new. We do keep our options open.
Hey, Corey, how this is fantastic, by the way. How do you get heads up on these type of opportunities?
Well, I mean, I'm going to give the credit to Andy Melville and his transportation group. They work hard to look into these things, and you know, as we've gotten used to the supply chain issues, I mean, they will usually look for either can we purchase under the state of Nebraska's bid opportunity, or can we find used equipment? So it's not unusual that they look it's probably a little more unusual that we find the right thing at the right time, but when we do, they take advantage of it, so.
Do you know what this would have cost new? I'd hate to put you on the spot. but-
I will let you know that when I come back. I'll ask Andy to text me that. When I come back, I'll let you know. You bet. That's it for page 3. I've got 2 more I want to talk to real briefly, hopefully. Item 7 on page 4. So this is a request for just under $100,000 to do a master plan study of the operating center. That structure was built in the late 60s, and we've used it hard and heavy ever since then. It's gone through sporadic upgrades. We've moved quite a few people out of that building into this building, and so facilities would like to take this opportunity to reevaluate that building and how do we use it properly going forward, as well as to bring it into code compliance. So they're looking to, going forward, accommodate executive, human resources, safety, security, dispatch, field operations, material management, facilities management, and possibly systems control out of that facility. But that takes some good coordination and planning, as well as the code compliance on a building from the late 60s is no small task either. So they wanted to go out and seek assistance from a professional firm, and they went out to solicit qualifications and proposals from 5 firms, and they got 1 response from Leo A. Daly. Very qualified firm. They are the architect firm that designed the operating center back when it was originally built. Additionally, they have just completed a master plan study of their own facility that's about the same vintage as our operating center. So we feel that they're well qualified to handle this. This is just the first step in the process, but we'd like to recommend the hiring of Leo A. Daly to perform this master plan study. So approval of this capital expenditure will also authorize the president to enter into an agreement with Leo A. Daly for the master plan study. That's it for that page. The last item on the letter is item number 9. At this time, I'm asking that the board table this item. The work represented by this item is our improvements that are needed for the OPPD Standing Bear project, and both M.U.D. and OPPD are still working to finalize the terms of the arrangement, and so accordingly, we're not quite ready to present this to the board. So I would ask that if there's a motion in the board meeting to approve the capital expenditures letter, that it not include item 9 at this time. Are there any questions about capital expenditures?
Corey, I'm sorry. I was kind of asleep at the switch when you're, not that I was asleep, but under system improvements, item number 4.
Yes.
That's a really big deal for the district. And I want to commend you and your team for the proactive nature of utilizing this peak of technology.
Sure.
You talked about the one instance in which it was used. Mm-hmm. So 92% of the main was spared, 8% was repaired.
Will be.
It will be. And tens of thousands of dollars is saved by virtue of utilizing this technology to pinpoint the main that needs to be replaced. And
Sure.
I look forward to future projects utilizing this technology and saving ratepayers money and making it more efficient for our crews as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we'll, my plan would be to continue to talk about not only the first one on High Street, once we know more about the costs, because we can say we're going to save 92% of that pipe. It's not going to be a 92% cost savings necessarily, and it isn't perfect. There's always the chance that it will break 10 years from now, but we are very confident that this tool tells us how to make better decisions, and so that's really what it's about. And the time that we would have spent replacing that 92% can now be put on mains that we know are just bad, and we can definitely reallocate our resources. So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
You bet. I just want to double back because that is a really, really big thing for the district. So thank you.
Thank you. Any Mark? I see your.
No, I'm Director Begley. Thanks for pointing that out. Mark Doyle, President. This is different. This is something different that we're taking the board, our representatives, and the money that we spend down a little different route. And some of us, me included, we won't know how this turns out unless, I call Corey 20 years from now and say, how'd that work out?
Right. Yeah.
But it is something different, but we're highly confident that it's the right thing to do. In the past, which isn't wrong, it's just the way we operated, these mains would just be replaced wholesale every time. And as Corey said, it's not just the money where it may not be 92%, but it'll be significant. It's the time that we spend continuing forward and getting rid of those mains that we are 100% on. And I want to commend you and the staff, along with the board, that we're taking this risk together, but I think it's a very well-calculated risk, and really in the interest of spending our dollars the best way we can.
Yeah.
So thanks for pointing that out, because, you know, there's a little bit of this, but it's well calculated. And we also are using the technology a little different, assessing mains that we're not replacing, our concrete mains and those high consequence, high risk mains. We're on a plan to do that as we go, because when those break, it's a big deal. So great presentation.
You bet. And I would probably be remiss if I didn't say that the reason that we're able to use these tools and present on them is our newly formed Infrastructure Integrity Group, II, led by Masa Nia and Jared Figuera. They are critical to making these kind of things available to us, because that's where their focus is. And so that group is working hard, and this is a direct result of their efforts. And so it was a step in the right direction to put that group together, and it's yielding positive results. So thank you very much.
Mr. Mendenhall will review the cell tower relocation at 120th and Military Avenue.
Good morning. Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel. Under Mr. O'Brien's capital expenditures letter, he mentioned item number 9 under buildings, land and plants and equipment. Item number 9 is part of a larger project related to Omaha Public Power District's Power with Purpose initiative. As you may recall, OPPD had identified multiple locations throughout its service territory to utilize gas-powered engines to provide backups to their new solar generation facilities. There are multiple agreements that we are working with OPPD on as they have identified property that we currently own at 120th and Military to site those engines. And so we have been actively negotiating with OPPD in terms of a lease, a gas supply agreement, a gas main extension agreement, amongst others. That segues into the letter behind tab number 6. So as we're tabling the recommendation to move forward with the capital expenditures for the gas facilities and the town border station improvements, we were moving forward with the recommendation behind tab number 6. And so tab number 6 speaks to a cellular tower that is currently on site. So we've entered into a lease with Verizon Wireless and American Tower Corporation for a approximately 200-foot tall guide wire cellular tower that is currently on site. As you all recall, I was before you earlier this year to request authorization to utilize eminent domain to acquire that leasehold interest. Since then, we have negotiated with American Tower Corporation, and I believe we have an agreement to strategically relocate that tower just to the west of its current location. Still on our property, but outside of the area that OPPD is planning to build. The costs, American Tower has estimated to be in the area of $1.5 million. American Tower Corporation has requested, and I am seeking authorization to contribute up to $1 million for that relocation. Those costs are divided into several different buckets. You've got engineering design type costs, we've got permitting costs, labor, steel, amongst others. This is probably a more than 12-month project to actually build a new tower, and so really the process is you take the existing tower, you bring in a tower on wheels, so a temporary tower, you put the equipment on the temporary tower, and then you begin demolishing the existing tower. Then you start building the new tower. The new tower is slated to be taller because it's lower in elevation from where it's at right now, so approximately 300-foot tall towers. What will be built sounds like a lot. I'd say it is, but It's actually on par with the cellular tower that we have at 132nd and Harney at the water storage facilities there. This $1 million will be refunded to the district through the gas supply agreement that we're entering into with Omaha Public Power District. So ultimately, OPPD is paying this $1 million. We're essentially underwriting it at this point, but we're receiving that over the course of 5 years through the gas supply agreement with OPPD. I know there's a lot of moving parts with this project. This is certainly a critical piece to ensure that construction can begin on the site by January 1, which is OPPD's goals. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Okay, thank you all very much.
Ms. Hen will review the acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates.
Good morning. Stephanie Hen, Director of Plant Engineering. I will be addressing the finals letter this morning behind tab number 7. We have 4 finals this month, 1 water infrastructure project and 3 water development projects. I'd like to touch on item A, which is a water infrastructure project with roll-off construction. This is part of our ongoing water IR program. So it's approximately a $2 million project. There was an increase on this of less than 3%, and these costs were primarily due to some additional paving and some additional directional drilling costs. However, we did see some savings due to less restoration because of the way the project was able to be constructed. I'd also like to touch on item B, which is a cedar construction water development project for about $265,000. There was a net decrease on this project of approximately 2%. However, this overall net decrease did include a small change order of about $4,300. This change order was primarily due to pipe increases due to supply chain issues, and this is the first time we've actually seen this. While this is a small change order, we do anticipate probably more of this coming through on future projects just due to the pandemic and other supply chain issues. So approval of this change order, of this final, also approved change order number 1. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Mr. Zellers will review the bids.
Good morning. John Zellers, Vice President, Procurement and Enterprise Services. Bids on materials and contracts may be found under tab 8. There are just a few items that I'd like to discuss this morning. The first is associated with installing barbed wire fencing and no trespassing signs along property lines and rights-of-way of the Platte West and Platte South well fields, both of which can be found at the bottom of page 2 or top of page 3. We received 3 bids for the work, in which we are recommending the low bid provided by Mill Iron W LLC. Though Mill Iron W has not conducted work for us in the past, they have performed similar work for others with positive feedback from their references. We feel confident in their ability to conduct the work per specifications and recommend both of their bids for approval. The next item may be found at the bottom of page 3. We accepted bids for 1 36-inch mechanical joint resilient seated gate valve. We are recommending the second low bid from American Underground, as the low bid from Mueller doesn't meet specifications. As shown on top of page 4, we accepted bids for automotive and construction equipment filters. We are recommending the bid from Napa, as the low bid from Factory Motor Parts had errors in their unit pricing. The last item I'd like to discuss may also be found on page 4. In April earlier this year, the recommendation to continue with an agreement with JEO Consulting for construction inspection services for contracted water mains was brought to the board for approval, in which the board requested it to be held over for further review. A thorough review was conducted by our engineering, human resources, accounting, and executive teams, which determined that the recommendation to enter into an agreement with JEO Consulting to continue to provide the inspection services provides a valued benefit to the district. And that's all I have for you this morning, but we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hey, John, on the fencing bids, You said the district has not done work with mill iron before?
No, we have not.
We haven't, okay.
Correct.
Has the district done work with Elkhorn fencing or Eldridge fencing?
Eldridge, I don't believe so. Elkhorn fencing, we have done work with
Okay,
them.
the bids are from mill iron are
They're
substantially
significant, yeah.
lower than the other two.
Yeah. Mill Iron is out of North Platte, and they're a family-run business, and I did a little research on my own, and I'm expecting that they do a lot of work with ranches and so forth with barbed wire. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, thank you.
Services and extensions, Mr. O'Brien, main extensions.
Good morning again. Corey O'Brien, Vice President, Engineering and Construction. Director Kavanaugh, to your question about the loader, Andy estimates that we're saving $30,000 to $40,000 by buying a used machine. Additional information, lead times on new equipment is 10 to 12 months. And we're also on the verge of the 2022-2023 model year, which would probably, you know, anytime you switch model years pushes availability out as well as probably cost up. So, and if there's any other questions about that, please don't hesitate.
Thank you.
You bet. Behind tab 9 is our main extensions letter this month. Again, a little bit longer letter. I'll try to be brief, but informative here. We have 9 projects, 6 being water, 3 being gas main extensions. So the impact of our water main extensions, 438 single residence lots and 2 multi-residence lots. On the gas side, the impact is on 2 schools, 272 single residence lots and 1 multi-residence lot. If you look at the map, you can see that we have projects in 4 of our subdivisions, with 5 of those projects being bunched up in Subdivision 2 this month. You win this month, Mr. Friend. If you'll turn to page 2, I'm going to start with item number 2, water main extension number 2. This is, I just bring it to your attention because we had previously approved a main extension for the Spring Ridge subdivision. This is a revision. The developer has decided to expand the project and make it larger. So it is now a little bit larger project. And I would also just remind you that the water is being installed under our WCD policy, which means that the developer will hire the contractor themselves rather than us doing that. That's all for page 2. If you go to page 3, water main extension number 5. This is a large project to serve domestic water and fire protection to the Windsor West subdivision. This involves about $1 million of district funds for primarily oversizing, and I kind of want to just give you a little more detail about what that $1 million will get us. So I'm breaking these mains down into 4 pieces. Part number 1 would be the interior mains for the project, and no district dollars are being used for the interior mains. Part number 2 would be approach main in Giles Road from, excuse me, from 180th to 182nd. The developer will be paying for a 12-inch main, and then our dollars will be used to take that up to most of it will be a 30-inch main, and some of it will be a 36-inch main. So significant oversizing. And we normally do that for system enhancement, system reliability, future developments. So that's that part. That comes at a cost of about $423,000. Part number 3, more approach mains in various streets, including 182nd, 183rd, Meridian. This involves about 4,000 feet of 16-inch pipe. And the developer will be their project requires a 12-inch, so we're oversizing 4,000 feet from a 12 to a 16. The price tag of that is approximately $360,000. And then the fourth part is a relocation of about 820 feet of 16-inch main at about $250,000. So that's how that $1 million is being spent. It is for future work for our transmission mains as well as system enhancements. So any questions on that one before I move on? The last water one I want to talk about is number 6. This is a little bit unusual water main extension, as it's being done under the district's WMD policy, which stands for Water Main District. We haven't done one of these in approximately 28 years. So we had to knock the dust off a couple of our procedures in putting this one before you. Mr. Mendenhall is going to speak more about this project here behind tab 10 following my presentation here, but this does involve providing water to 13 lots in Bruin Acres. The project is really, the street is Earl Avenue, and we'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. On the gas side, main extension number 1 is for the Bennington schools. It's for a middle school and an elementary school. I just call it to your attention because there is a sizable deficiency. Bennington schools has agreed to pay that deficiency, and so that's all I need to say on that one. Item number 2, this is the sister main extension for the Spring Ridge subdivision, the developer that is making that project larger. We talked about on the water side. This is the gas side of it as well, so it's just a revision to a main extension that we approved previously. Stepping back on the water just a moment, items 1, 2, 3, and 4, the developers for those water projects have requested district gas for their projects, which is good. Item number 5 under the water side does not lie in our service territory, so we will not be providing gas to that project. And item number 6, the WMD main, we already have a gas main in Earl Avenue, so we are currently serving those 13 lots. That's all I have on main extensions. Are there any questions?
Mr. Mendenhall, creation of a new water main district.
All right, thank you again. Good morning, Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel. As Mr. O'Brien indicated in his letter, we have a WMD, and we did have to dust off some of our procedures, so certainly want to thank Jeff Skovanik, Mark Mushik, Justin Cooper for all of their work to ensure that we're following proper procedures and state statutes. So water main districts are a thing that we have not utilized in quite some time. Last WMD that was created was 1993. Chances are, if you live like I do east of 72nd Street in Omaha, your water main district was installed through a WMD. Ms. Mancuso actually uncovered boxes of these old agreements. Generally, the WMD process has fallen out of favor as SIDs have more, I guess, authorities in order to install streets, sewers, water mains. So the WMD that we are speaking with, there is behind tab 10, there's a map, so you can see Earl Avenue, which runs just off of Military. The proposed water main would service 13 residences. Those 13 residences are currently served via a well. My understanding is that well is no longer producing high quality water, and so the homeowners, property owners have come to us to inquire about installing a water main. The cost of that water main in Mr. O'Brien's and then Mr. Zeller's letters are estimated in the $280,000 range. The statutes that allow for the creation of a WMD, primarily Nebraska Revised Statute 18401, and then there's a few others after that, allow for those costs, so that 280 or whatever the actual costs are, to then be assessed onto the property owners over a course of 10 years. And I think that we have one property owner that indicates their preference is to pay everything up front, which is certainly fine, but otherwise they would be assessed via a special assessment on their tax over the course of 10 years. And those costs are apportioned according to assessable frontage, so how much feet that you have basically being served by that water main district. That's how they would, or we would calculate the costs of contribution. Generally, it's in the area of, I'd say, $10,000 to $25,000 for each property owner. So in addition to the letter that Mr. O'Brien and I both signed, you'll see a resolution. So the actual motion would be a motion to approve the resolution. And supporting that resolution, there was a petition signed by a majority of these homeowners. The state statute requires, assuming you all approve this resolution and create this water main district, these homeowners have 30 days from today to decide, well, wait, they might not want to do that. And then, so they would have 30 days from today to protest, file a written protest to say, no, we actually don't want this assessment. And so we'll certainly, and we've already communicated all of this to the homeowners. and received actually back a majority have already signed the petition. So we're confident that the homeowners, at least the majority of them, want to move forward with this. Again, a little bit different, but always interesting to look back at some of the things that helped create the district, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Didn't you tell me that this water that they're utilizing out of the well isn't healthy? It's, I don't know if I should say substandard, but not, well, they would prefer people to be drinking.
Well, I would say it would not meet our qualities, and again, anecdotally, I've just been informed that it is not high quality water. I don't know what that means in terms of their abilities to drink it or what they're utilizing now, but I would say that our water would exceed the water that is produced via a well. I think it's our former COO, Dave DeBoer, who had coined the phrase, and maybe he didn't coin it, but he's said it several times. Wells are great until they're not, and at some point they're not going to produce. Either they're going to be pumping sand, or they're going to be producing water that maybe has contaminants in it. And so,
Do you know what precipitated this decision on their part to seek community water?
Generally, again, from my perspective, generally it's one individual that kind of takes the reins on this and says, okay, we've got to do something. And so then this one person works to collaborate with his or her neighbors and try to gain a consensus, a majority, and then they reach out to us. And that's what happened here. One individual reached out to us and had conversations.
So apparently someone was not pleased with the current water situation.
Yes, I believe all the neighbors have been talking for some time. We've actually discussed a water main district for a much larger area, again, similar part of town, and it was obvious that the neighborhoods did not, as a majority, approve. And so then because these neighborhoods were served by multiple wells, this street is served on one such well, and so this street was one that decided we need to move forward with this. So.
I think part of it, Gwen, also, I'm familiar with that area. There's been quite a bit of growth out there in the last 10 or 15 years, and when the first folks built, that well could support a household or two. Now that there are, and I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say 3, 4, 5, 6 times those number of households and water demand, the wells just are not big enough to support that kind of demand. So I think that's what's driven a lot of this in that part of the county.
Excellent point.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mark, would they be subject to the City of Omaha sewer tax fee where they're at?
They are, let's see, they are outside City of Omaha, but they're inside the city's ETJ. That's a great question. Let me. I've been having communications with your former employer at the treasurer's office. Let me follow up on that.
Just so they understand, that's the City of Omaha's tax or sewer fee and not us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
Do we even know if they have sanitary sewer, or because a lot of those places were originally built with, cisterns or
Septic.
Thank you,
Yeah.
septic tank, and I think there's a lot of septic tanks still out there.
There are. I don't
So-
have the answer for that. I will follow up with them.
Now, the Mark Doyle, President, the fundamental difference here from how we normally operate, as Mark said, SIDs have been developing water, and it's paid for in advance by the developers, as is all of our water development. It's developer-driven. This is a little different, and I think we've spoke of this, but our risk is that taxes aren't paid and never recovered through foreclosure. It's a risk, but it is a little different from how we fundamentally operate with water being paid for developers up front.
True.
Agree?
Yes.
But we still think we bring this to the board. We don't have to say yes. We could say no. I don't think we should. I think we have the water. Interestingly, back in 1993, that was my first year on the board, when we had just approved the study for Platte West, things were a little harder. It was harder to extend water when we were looking at it would take 15 more years to get that plant online. But we did. And, usually it's minimal when you look at something like this. So, hopefully you're supportive, and I hope the neighborhoods are supportive, and they receive the high-quality water that we can deliver, and we have the capacity to deliver. So good job on the research,
Yep.
youngster. All of you. it's a good education.
It
on
absolutely is.
How
Yes,
this
sir.
district works and used to work.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you very much.
Personnel, Mrs. Savine, employee wage and/or salary increases and ratifications.
Thank you, Director Frost. Good morning. Bonnie Savine, Vice President of Human Resources. I'll begin by recapping a couple of things. The first thing will be the employee counts for the end of August of 20 and 21. On August 31st of 20, there were 814 regular full-time employees, 4 regular part-time, for a total of 818. For this August, we had 816 regular full-time employees and 3 regular part-time, for a total of 819 regular employees. We did have 4 temporary part-time employees and 1 temporary full-time employee at the end of this August, and we do still have a few summer employees that are trickling off of the payroll here in the next couple of weeks. As a brief recap on those summer folks, we had 18 students this summer who joined us. That is certainly a little lower than previous years, but we're trying to take their safety into consideration and ensure that we provide still a win-win for both our divisions and the employees. A brief review of jobs actively in various stages of the employment process as of the end of the month. We had 0 jobs that are going through the requisition process right now. 6 jobs are currently posted, and 2 of those are internal. And we have none that are expected to be posted this week. But we do have 15 jobs that are in the application review and interview stages, and we have 8 jobs with 22 candidates that have been selected, and they are going through the hiring process right now. We will have between 3 and 5 new hires each of the next 3 to 4 weeks. So, okay. And then moving on now to tab 11, which is, as Mr. Frost indicated, the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications letter. Human Resources is recommending the Board of Directors approve wage or salary increases for 9 employees this month. Among the 7 OAC employees on the letter, we have 1 promotion via the normal posting process. We have 1 transfer under the provision that's noted in that section under the letter. We have 5 natural job progressions in the Field Services Division. So those are the 7 OAC employees. Additionally, we have 2 promotions under the SPA section. The first is for Manager Employee Relations. This job, where Ms. Couture has reported directly to Gary Troutman over the last 3 years supporting employee relations, is selected. Per the compensation policy, she is recommended to earn the minimum of the new salary grade. We've noted that it is a larger % increase. It is in line with a few others over the past 5 years where promotional increases, according to the compensation policy, equaled 30 to 40% or more. The second SPA employee on the letter, Jared Svigera, is earning is receiving a promotion, as a result of a job reevaluation. The employee was approved for a temporary transfer salary adjustment under Section 5 of the Personnel Policy Manual, which is noted by the TX next to the salary grade. The temporary adjustment was given for a couple of reasons. One, Mr. Svigera was temporarily filling in for the Director of Infrastructure Integrity, spoke about just a little bit ago, that division, and was also reassigned oversight of the GIS division previously handled by a senior design engineer. Though in May of this year, his temporary duties associated with Director of Infrastructure Integrity concluded, it was determined he would continue to be assigned oversight of the GIS team, which is 7 regular employees, 2 summer employees, and an intern, so 10 employees. Therefore, Mr. Doyle supported the continuation of the temporary transfer adjustment and a reevaluation of the job. The conclusion of the reevaluations resulted in the recommendation for this promotional increase. Human Resources reviewed this along with other like situations, and we recommend the 5% promotional salary increase be given using the employee's temporary salary at this time because he's been receiving this temporary salary adjustment for longer than 1 year, actually closer to a year and a half. And we are reviewing the language in our PPM to make sure that we have this scenario reflected if it's not clear that that's how that would be handled in there today. And there are no new hire ratifications for the month. And with that, that was a lot of information. Questions? Gwen, yes.
Thank you, Bonnie. Could you reflect on the district's current vaccination rate?
Sure, I can.
That's important, and then I'll have a second question for you, too.
Sure. We actually last Thursday. Okay. Vaccination rates. I could hear you.
Thank
Was
you.
the question. The district last Thursday, on our Thursday incident command call, we reported that we reached 70% fully
good.
vaccinated.
Good.
And so that has been a tremendous effort put forth by many individuals, but everybody on our management team, our senior team included, has been supportive of that, including our board personnel chair, Mr. Begley. But we did get our ID badges equipped with the stickers for those that have voluntarily provided that vaccine record. They were provided the sticker with the choice to determine whether they wanted to display that or not. And with the mailing of that letter, we did see over a dozen old vaccine cards newly submitted. So folks that made the choice to submit that card to display the sticker.
Well, that's quite an increase from last month, so good job.
It is. We were very happy with that. Yes.
And the second question is, I wondered if you wanted to just discuss a little bit the health clinic that you've got coming up in October.
Sure.
I just think that's such a good opportunity for the employees, and I'm so glad you do that.
Sure, thanks. We have that event coming up October 26th. It is at the Firefighter Union Hall, which again is close to our operations and construction center and allows for pretty quick in and out. We'll again this year have mammograms. We'll have our bootmobile, not ours, but from one of our local vendors. We will certainly have our vaccination clinics. So that will be flu, shingles, pneumonia, and COVID this year, COVID vaccines. And then all of our benefit administrators do attend. What we're trying to do this year is design that a little bit so that we can keep safety, social distancing in mind. We are going to require masks for attendance, and we may also require scheduling to keep the flow of people separated. And that same philosophy will be applied to our, I'm going to give a little plug, to our internal career fair, which will be later this month. We're holding one segment of that at the construction center and one segment here at headquarters. They'll each focus on different types of jobs, technical, operational, craft jobs over at the construction center, and here a little bit more on our administrative jobs. And the idea is to allow our employees to learn about what other opportunities there are here at the district and what the requirements might be so that they can help develop those skills to take some of those jobs.
We've been keeping you busy.
We've been busy, and we're thinking that both of those events will be outdoors.
Oh, good, good. I would suggest that when you do your job fair, I know it's early, but maybe you could include something about the summer internship program, just so people have that information in their minds. And
Thank you. Great. Yes.
I
Director
have
Cook.
a question just for my own edification. How often is job reevaluation done? Is that on an ongoing basis?
Thank
Just
you.
educate me.
Sure. For our hourly or our operating and clerical individuals, typically once a year, we have what we call a wage reopener. and two individuals from the labor team and 2 individuals from management meet. Employees are given a number of weeks to submit their requests to have their job reevaluated in a sense, and any outbound recommendations from the committee are brought to the board, usually after the beginning of the year. And so we're looking at the timing of that for this year now. As far as our salaried individuals go, that a reevaluation is the recommendation of their senior team member or Mr. Doyle. So it happens on occasion throughout a given year, maybe a half a dozen times at the most that I can recall. So it is on occasion. Now, when we do have job descriptions that are revised in preparation for a job opening, for example, or if it's a new job, certainly that does go through the grading process. But when we do revise job descriptions, we take a look at them. There is a team of 3 or 4, depending on, now Gary is retired, but that do look at that, and then those job evaluations are shared with Mr. Mendenhall and then Mr. Doyle as needed. So, it's not real common that we do a reevaluation.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr.
Hey, Bonnie.
Bagley. Yes.
With Ms. Couture's promotion, first I want to thank Mr. Mendenhall and Bonnie for the information that's been
Sure.
provided over the past couple of weeks.
You bet.
And Bonnie, just one question for you. So Ms. Couture is, am I pronouncing her name
Yes.
correctly? Okay. So she's been with the district for 3 years as an assistant working under Gary.
Correct.
And it goes assistant, specialist, generalist, and then manager, is that correct?
We do have 2 specialists in the benefits area. We don't have them in the other functional areas in HR. And we do have 3 generalists. We don't have a generalist under the labor team. So the entire team was Jessica and Mr. Troutman.
But I mean, as far as the
kind
HR
of the
org
pecking
chart.
order?
Exactly.
Okay, yes.
And also, Ms. Couture has 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree.
Yes.
And she went on to get a labor certification.
From Cornell.
Yes, from
Correct.
Cornell. So she's shown tremendous initiative in her 3 years with the district, and I know Gary thought very highly of her.
Sure.
So I think it was a fair process.
Absolutely.
It was internal and external employees who could apply.
It was, and she was our only internal candidate, and we had 6 individuals we selected for interviews, some interesting interviews. Unfortunately, 2 did not show for interviews, and 1 selected another job during the process. But again, we had certainly a very qualified candidate with Ms. Couture, and she also has her professional and human resources certification as well. And I can say that we have recognized, especially over this last year throughout the pandemic, that the relationships that she has built with some of our labor representatives, stewards, and our officers alike has been very helpful in making sure that information is getting shared back and forth with the odd work arrangements that we've had with not being in the office as often. So I think those relationships have yielded quite a bit. So
Thanks, Bonnie.
you're welcome. Okay, since we have 2 more tabs, I will move as quickly as I can. I appreciate your patience. Behind tab 12 is the group insurance contract renewals letter. The following group insurance contracts are being recommended for 2022: PPO Health, HMO Health, Dental, Vision, Flexible Spending Accounts, Basic Life Insurance, Supplemental Voluntary Life Insurance, Accidental Death and Dismemberment, Long-Term Disability, and COBRA Administration. The district continues to work with Silverstone, who is now a Hub International organization, in evaluating our benefit administrators, benefit plans, and the costs associated with those plans, including administrative fees. For 2022, there are no recommended changes for benefit administrators. Blue Cross Blue Shield is our health and pharmacy administrator. HM Life does our stop loss. They handle stop loss. And I would note that the proposal from HM Life is not finalized yet. Their proposal is what we are recommending, but they do wait for August claims, which will be available within the next couple of weeks, and then they will finalize that proposal for us as they did last year when we came to the meeting here. Emeritus handles our dental and vision administration. We did evaluate PayFlex again because we have been trying to improve the employee experience on that product. And we have seen some progress from them on the way that they receive claim data. We've set up claim data to be exchanged to them from Blue Cross and Emeritus, so that way there aren't so many requests for employees to submit paperwork to substantiate their claims. So we have determined we'll recommend partnership with them again for flexible spending. And Mutual of Omaha administers life and disability plans, while WEX, who formerly was Discovery Benefits, handles COBRA administration. Questions on that letter? Okay. And finally, I will get out of your hair, after tab 13, selection on the recommendation on the selection of our Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve the selection of Sue Lobsiger for Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer. Ms. Lobsiger holds a Master of Arts degree in Management Information Systems from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. She also earned a Bachelor of Science degree in General Engineering from the United States Military Academy, West Point, New York. Ms. Lobsiger is also a retired U.S. Army captain. Thank you for your service, Sue, after serving 8 years. Ms. Lobsiger was hired by the district on October 8, 2018 as Vice President, Information Technology Services. The Human Resources team conducted a thorough recruitment and job placement process. We had over 90 candidates, by the way, internally and externally. Over multiple months, all candidates were reviewed and vetted. The district's senior management team and I concurred on this selection. And in view of the responsibilities for this role, it is recommended the president be authorized to increase the salary of Ms. Lobsiger effective September 16, 2021. Any questions on that? And Sue is here.
Congratulations, Sue.
Did you want to say anything, Sue?
Thank you. I just want to thank you all for your support. I am really proud to work for the district and the mission that we do in serving the community. And I also like to thank all my peers, the senior staff, and especially the leaders in the staff in customer accounting, customer service, and IT. They do great work, and I'm ready to get to work, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. I'm just excited, and I feel really lucky. We're, I think, very fortunate to have someone who is so accomplished as Sue and an internal candidate. So just looking forward to seeing your continued wonderful leadership. You're welcome.
Legislators, Mr. Cooper will now review 2 agenda items pertaining to declaration of properties.
Good morning. My name is Justin Cooper. I'm a staff attorney here at the district. Behind tab number 14, you'll see a recommendation to declare surplus a gas regulator station at 3710 Madison. There's also an aerial view of the neighborhood as well as a close-up of the gas regulator station. This one has been out of service now since earlier part this year due to system improvements. Space-wise, the building is roughly 25 feet by 33 feet, and the property is 40 feet by 40 feet. So we recommend that this be declared surplus. Any questions on that one? The second matter is under tab 15. It's another gas regulator station building at 4951 Grover. This one, the building is a little larger as well as the property. The building is 27 feet by 27, and the property is 60 feet by about 125. There's also an aerial view to give you a sense of what it looks like in the neighborhood, as well as a close-up of that gas regulator station. Management is recommending that you declare that as surplus as well. Any questions?
So what happens next? Are they put up for auction?
Well, we have kind of a variety of ways that we look at that. The first thing that we do is we circulate letters to the neighbors that this product is going on sale. We have put ads in the paper usually, and the one ads to say surplus property. We have a number of people who have contacted us in the past that are interested in these. So I have a list in the office to contact them and say, 4951 Grover is available. And then we generate as much interest as we can. We have not found an auction to be particularly beneficial in these because of the generally smaller price. But if we find one that is generating a lot of interest, we can do that. The last one that we sold that was a competitive bid, we had the two people make offers and counter offers until we got to a price, and that turned out to be pretty beneficial for the district.
How do you establish the price?
Well, we look at the neighborhood price as much as we can. Some of them you look at it, there's not sewer and there's not water to most of these. So someone who's going to invest in those is going to have some upfront cost. We don't typically have them appraised, again, because of the small dollar value. But if we, again, find a huge interest in one, we can certainly go to that time and expense. But typically, you can look at the neighborhood and get an idea of what the square footage value is in the neighborhood and price it accordingly.
Okay. Sounds like this is a good time to be selling real estate.
Yeah, we've already gotten some interest on both these.
Good.
Hey, Justin, do we enlist the help of a realtor, or do we handle this internally?
We've done this internally.
What kind of a price range are you looking at, probably?
Well, that's really hard to say. We've had gas regulator stations that we gave one to the city because there was no market. It was in the middle of a baseball field, basically. And the last one that we had a competitive bid on was $11,500. So we've had a range of these. I don't think anybody's going to be able to retire from the sale of this property. But I think there's a market. We have one person in particular who turns these into tiny houses. And we've had some pictures there, and I think there's a market for that for these.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Do any board members have any further comments? I'd like to mention that due to COVID-related precautions, members of the public have access to the meeting via a WebEx connection that is set up in an adjacent conference room at the headquarters building. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? And if so, please indicate your intentions to the moderator.
Sir, we don't have any public in attendance right now. Thank you.
The committee meetings have now concluded. We will reconvene for the regular monthly board meeting in 10 minutes at 9:30. We're done.
Yes.
Whoop. Well, gotcha.
Nice shot.
Those two are actually pretty nice, Brick, and,
Neither one have water or sewer, right?
no.
So you
call the meeting to order.
Are we rolling?
I would now like to call the meeting to order. I am Jack Frost, sitting in for Chairperson Mike McGowan, who could not be in attendance today, and I'd like to welcome you all this morning, Thursday, September 1st, to the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors regular monthly board meeting. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. I would like to announce that due to the continued uptick in COVID cases, the district will be returning to a stricter level of COVID precautions. The number of attendees at today's meeting will be limited to the extent possible. Unvaccinated people are required to wear masks, and all attendees are encouraged to abide by the 6-foot social distancing rule. In the interest of protecting the health and safety of any members of the public who wish to address the board, they may do so from an adjacent conference room. Thank you for your cooperation in this regard. Roll call.
Friend?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Howard?
Here.
Kavanaugh?
Here.
Bagley?
Here.
Cook?
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available in the back of the boardroom, and a copy is also available in the nearby conference room set aside for members of the public who may attend. And now, for those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes for the committee meetings and regular monthly board meeting for August the 4th. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Capital expenditures, Director Kavanaugh.
Tab 5, capital expenditures were discussed in committee, and we're tabling number 9, dealing with $3.2 million in gas piping. I make a motion that we approve the rest of the expenditures.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend?
Yes.
Frost?
Aye.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Cell tower relocation at 120th and Military Avenue, Director Kavanaugh.
This was discussed during committee, and the recommendation is to approve the resolution, so I move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend?
In memory of Tom Dowd, I'm voting aye. Instead of yes.
Frost?
Aye.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates, Director Kavanaugh.
That's tab 7. This was discussed in committee. There is 4 contracts and payments for final estimates. I move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend?
Yes.
Frost?
Aye.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Bids on materials and contracts, Director Kavanaugh.
That's tab 8, and the bids were discussed during committee, and I move for approval of each one of them.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend?
Yes.
Frost?
Aye.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Main extensions, Director Friend.
Found under tab 9. This was discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Corey O'Brien dated August 26th.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Creation of water main district, Director Friend.
Also discussed in committee, I move approval of the resolution to create a water main district that was attached to and is a part of the letter from Mr. O'Brien dated August 26th.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Aye.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Director Begley.
I move that we approve the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications as discussed in committee this morning and detailed in Ms. Savine's memo dated August 20th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Aye.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Group insurance contract renewals. Director Begley.
I move that we approve the group insurance contract renewals as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated August 23rd, 2021.
I second Professor Begley's motion.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Recommendation for Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer. Director Begley.
I move that we approve Sue Lopsiger as the Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer, as discussed in committee and outlined in the memo from Bonnie Savine dated August 24th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion.
I just want to echo Director Cook and compliment and congratulate Sue on her promotion. And in the times I've worked with Sue, she's been just tremendous. She walks me through difficult things with regard to anything related to IT. So congratulations, Sue, and again, thank you for your service. I was unaware that she was at the U.S. Military Academy and was a captain in the Army. So
Yeah.
thanks for your service, and we're really, really fortunate to have Sue.
Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Declaration and proposed sale of surplus property at 3710 Madison Avenue. Director Cook.
Yeah, we had a discussion, of course, in the committee meeting. I move we approve the declaration of surplus property at 3710 Madison Street and accompanying resolution as presented by Mr. Cooper and as outlined in Mr. Mendenhall's letter dated August 18th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Declaration and proposed sale of surplus property at 4951 Grover Street. Director Cook.
Yes, this is another one we discussed in committee. I move we approve the declaration of surplus property at 4951 Grover and accompanying resolution as presented by Mr. Cooper and as outlined in Mr. Mendenhall's letter to the committee dated August 18, 2021.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Other matters of district business for discussion. Do any board members have any comments they would like to share?
Mr. Chairman, I do. I want to congratulate the district on the project that I've been keeping an eye on for some time now, 180th Street, north and south, and then Blondo east and west. I had a chance to drive through there yesterday. It opened at 9 a.m. It looks really, really impressive, that whole project, and I'm glad the district did their due diligence and got it done on time. So I really appreciate that.
I'd like to mention that due to COVID-related precautions, members of the public have access to the meeting via WebEx connection that is set up in a conference room adjacent to the boardroom at the headquarters building. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? And if so, please indicate your intentions to the moderator.
Sir, no members of the public are present.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Friend,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
We are adjourned.